Axis Bank posted its numbers and there was nothing to complain about the fourth quarter. The loan growth was over 15%, margins were decent and slippages were actually down. But the bank's guidance, not a very numerical guidance, but the qualitative guidance was extremely cautious. They have set aside 3,000 crores as contingency provisions which will be used because of possible defaults due to COVID, and that has resulted in a loss for the fourth quarter. They are expecting more assets, more loans to fall into BB and below category because of stress problems. So the guidance is extremely cautious, also saying that the economy can go through a fairly long period of stress. Well, now to analyze more about the numbers of the quarter that was and the quarters that will be, we have with us the Managing Director and CEO of Axis Bank, Amitabh Chaudhry. Amitabh, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Well, let me at least start with the better part of the announcement from the results. The fourth quarter numbers, they were quite good. You didn't see any problem. Loan growth, margins, slippages down, all good.
Well, yes, from a quarter perspective, because the impact of COVID was felt only towards the end of the quarter, we had a decent quarter. We had predicted that our GNPAs will come down. We had said that our business is gradually, slowly picking up. So our traction on the granular growth of our CASA deposits continue to reflect the fact that we're building up the franchise slowly, gradually. Our loan growth continued at the right pace. Yes, we had an impact on the fee income because of COVID-related impact. We had one-time charge in comparison to last year around buying PSL certificates. So that also kind of impacted our expenses. But otherwise, it was a great quarter.
I do understand that you're creating a buffer. But the larger question about this, COVID-related issue, 25% loans have opted for moratorium. How much of this you think will ultimately turn into NPA?
Oh, well, I wish, we had an idea as to how much of it will turn into NPA. What we see today when we look outside the window is that the economic activity has come to a grinding halt. Most of the plants are shut. If they're operating at very low capacity utilization. We know that there is a shortage of labor. We know there is a shortage of labor to even load goods and unload them. We know that the government rules are changing. They're changing frequently. And I'm not blaming anyone here. They're changing because the governments are reacting to the situation on the ground. Distribution channels are all shut. And then there is a big question on what the customer demand is, because a lot of the customers are also suffering. Given all of that, we know that the lockdown will take time to be lifted. We know that the economic activity will take a lot of time to come back to normal. And in that scenario, it is almost a given that a number of corporates and individuals will go through severe stress and some will become non-performing. We have done our stress scenarios, and obviously we have done various kinds of stress scenarios. Based on what we see today, we clearly feel that the overall stresses in the system will increase, and it is prudent, based on what we know today, to go and make some provisions for what is likely to happen. And that's precisely what we have done. Do we have a clear idea, this is good enough? We don't know.
Yes.
Let's see how long the lockdown lasts. I think you people have more insights in when the lockdown will be lifted than we will have. But and in what form and shape it will be lifted. I hope it gets done soon, because the emerging view is that if we keep the country shut for anywhere between 49 and I've heard 7 weeks to 10 weeks, the country shut for that time, we need to open up the entire country. It can't be opening parts of the economy, because there's so many interlinkages of everything you open up that you open one part, don't open the other part, the opening has no meaning. So you have to open it up. Yes, continue your strict norms in terms of how you will shut down parts of the city or parts of the country or districts if there is the red spots develop. But otherwise, the country has to be opened up. Otherwise, I think this is going to lead to a huge economic crisis, and government has to then intervene in a very big way. And right now, we have seen only one package. We're hoping for the next package, a series of packages to come. India today, based on where we stand today, has one of the strictest lockdowns in the world. And from an economic support perspective, I think we have still got some distance to cover. So I think that combination needs to change. Our point in that map needs to change to some extent.
Okay, that point is taken. No, the question I was asking you, and I appreciate that nobody right now would know, But there are a couple of brokerages who are saying it could be between 150 to 250 basis points in terms of incremental GNPA, gross net performing asset. Would that be a right ballpark number?
Well, if we had to give that number, we would have given it in the calls. We are not trying to give any guidance on what that number would be because, frankly, we don't know. I'll be very frank. Wish we knew. What we have just done is we have done various scenarios. Those scenarios going from base to severe show to us that it can get quite bad. Then we have said, okay, that is what the scenarios show, but then we don't know the data point and how they'll play out. Let's look at where we stand today and, what we are really confident about in terms of, yes, these kind of provisions would be required, and then we have gone ahead and made this 3,000 crore provision. Now, there's partly covers what RBI wants us to do. Partly, we have also taken care of the, June 7th circular, and we have not taken the dispensation given by RBI on that. And the rest is just prudent provisions which we have made. So, there are two separate things, though interlinked, but they're two separate things. Depending on how the quarter plays out, we will, if necessary, we will make more provisions. We are very clear in Axis Bank that we want to be positioned as a conservative, prudent enterprise. And whatever it takes to get there, we will do it.
Then what is making you cautious? Is it that you had a whole lot of companies, some 2,200 crore worth of loans getting downgraded to BB and below? Is that what is the data point that's making, or data points that are making you cautious?
Because the basic point is that when we look around us, we see that the revival of economic activity back to what it was a couple of months back could extend anywhere from 6 to 9 quarters. If that is the case, some unexpected companies will go down and become NPL. We don't know who they are. We obviously have a long list of companies we are watching, but there will be expected and unexpected stresses which will arise.
Amitabh, the other key point is, and this is not a 3 to 6 month question, this is a slightly larger question about post-COVID world and how commercial real estate, for example, would take a big hit. Already indications are that a lot of companies will opt for work from home. In that sense, will things change the way you look at collateral, or you look at commercial real estate, or banks look at commercial real estate?
I can say that yes, commercial real estate will definitely take a hit. I don't know whether it's a large hit or a big hit, but definitely take a hit. All of us are looking and re-looking at how we are going to work going forward in the future in the post-COVID world. I mean, in case of Axis Bank, we have enabled 9,000 people to work from home. And as we are asking ourselves daily, do all the people need to come back every day of the week to work going forward in the future? And the answer is a big no. So yes, our requirement for non-branch real estate, just in case of Axis Bank, will go down dramatically in the next 3 to 5 years. We might not need any space, frankly, if we do what we are intending to do. Let's say whether we can get there or not. And I'm sure the other, companies in India are asking themselves exactly the same question. So the commercial real estate market sure will get hit. And obviously all the real estate developers have to ask themselves, whether it will impact the pricing or how much new real estate needs to be developed. Please understand that in India, the commercial real estate market is also catering to a lot of foreign companies with their BPO or, back office arms or IT arms here in India. IT companies utilize a lot of the space, and that might still be required. Though, TCS recently made a statement about how in 5 years they expect a very large part of their workforce to be working from home. So yes, there is a question mark on how badly or whether and to what extent the commercial real estate market will get hit. A lot of these sectors will have to re-question their model in a very, very big way. For example, people are saying that the two-wheeler market will pick up in a big way because post-COVID world, a lot of people might say that I don't want to travel in a bus or a train. They might prefer traveling in a two-wheeler. I don't know, but that could lead to a spurt in demand for two-wheelers. So you will see sectors which are hit. You will see sectors which could pick up quite well, if you especially look at examples in China.
Well, we heard the Prime Minister yesterday. The Prime Minister told states that we also have to work on restarting the economy as well as continuing the fight against COVID-19. Several states are keen to extend the lockdown in hotspots areas. So what's going to happen in terms of production in the month of May? Rajiv Bajaj, MD of Bajaj Auto, joins us now. Mr. Bajaj, there seems to be a further problem when it comes to production in the month of May. Different states would come up with their own standards, own policies towards exiting the lockdown. Do you think that resuming production in the month of May could be a challenge?
Well, Parikshit, I'd like to go back to my very first interview on this subject on 30th of March, where I had made 2 points. One, that this sweeping lockdown is absolutely arbitrary and just not required. We will pay a heavy price if this continues. And secondly, that we at Bajaj Auto have prepared ourselves for a 8-week disruption. And unfortunately, I was right. The arbitrary lockdown is continued. And until end of May, we really don't see much change. Having said that, I must say that, while the government may be talking something, but in terms of their walk, things have definitely begun to change at the ground level. In the last 1 week itself, we have seen some very positive developments. Specifically, our Pantnagar plant has been given approval progressively to go to full capacity, which of course we cannot till our dealerships open up. But at least we have that approval on the supply side. Progressively, we are saying that we are getting the same approval for our Aurangabad plant, which is our second plant at Waluj outside of Aurangabad. Unfortunately, for a plant at Chakan outside Pune, we have not been permitted any production, which is really, really unfortunate because it's our main export plant. But having said that, as of yesterday, we received permission to ship goods from there, which we did not have up until yesterday.
Okay.
So I think, we are seeing a little change for the better every few days over the last 1 week.
Okay, but in terms of the government's larger focus towards reopening the economy, the Prime Minister also yesterday had forewarned states that this is a crisis that we will have to possibly live with. He also said that restarting economy is important. Every state is coming up with certain measures. We are also seeing that the government is working on a package for MSMEs as well. Do you feel that we are on the right path forward?
Well, let me take that in 2 parts. On the first part, frankly, I want to say very candidly that what I see of what I hear or read about what's happening in interactions between the center and the states is only 3 things: politics, politics, and politics. Because all I see is the center asking the states what they want to do, and the states, and I'm amused to see, especially the non-BJP states, from Delhi to West Bengal, Orissa, Maharashtra, AP, Telangana, they seem to be at the forefront of saying that the lockdown should continue. Now, as you know, in some of these states, I have friends who are quite senior, if I may say so, in these states, and I am extremely surprised to see this because in private, they all seem to be for a very rapid unlocking. And yet, when it comes to their public posturing, it's almost as if they all want to hide behind the Prime Minister and pass the buck to him. So, as far as state and center interaction is concerned, I see much more of politics than of any logic being discussed for unlocking or otherwise.
Okay.
Now, as far as business and stimulus and you asked about MSME, etc. is concerned, frankly, my view is that the only people that need help are the poor masses who have lost their jobs. Yesterday, I read somewhere that 12 crore people are jobless. I don't know if it's true, but those are the people that really need help for the basic necessities of life. Maybe the small businesses to some extent. Frankly, my view is that after middle of April, big businesses and the super rich and the affluent middle class, upper middle class of India should have spoken up and should have said that they believe that a calibrated unlock is required. They did not. Everybody, by and large, seems to have voted for continuation of the lockdown. Why should there be any stimulus for any of them?
Okay.
They wanted the lockdown. Now they should live with the consequences.
Mr. Bajaj, do you also feel that now it is time to urgently resume production because there are salaries at stake, there are contractual workers whose livelihoods are at stake as well? Do you think now the need to begin production has become even more pressing?
I would say that's the second most important thing. I have been saying for the last couple of weeks that the first and the most important thing is to open the front end of the business. In our case, that means the ports so that we can export. Our dealers in India who have started opening up now in 5s and 10s. But 2% of dealerships being open is not going to help Bajaj Auto to start their factories. So dealerships have to open, sub-dealers have to open, transportation has to become absolutely smooth and unhindered. So one has to open the tap at the front end first, and then production will follow. I can give you a feel for it. I think in the month of April, fortunately, because we do export, we will see sales of something like 35,000 numbers. Obviously, it's minuscule compared to our normal monthly sales of 400,000, but something is better than nothing at this time. This is for the month of April. Almost all of it will be for exports. In May, we are looking at operating at about 50% capacity across all our plants put together, which points to about 200,000 vehicles. Again, the majority would be for exports. And in June, we are hoping, subject to how things are unlocked, to record something in excess of 250,000 vehicles, which means we are about at two-thirds capacity.
Right.
So from this point of view, it's not so bad for us, but that is, again, I say, because half of what we make is exported.
Okay. At the same time, sir, there were cost-cutting measures that were taking place at Bajaj Auto, other OEMs as well. Could you tell us if there has been any further decision in terms of salary reductions, in terms of cutting other costs in the company?
We have already implemented almost all of the cost-cutting measures, which apart from those related to marketing costs and capex and other administrative costs, including travel, etc., also concern employee costs, including corrections in, say, gratuity, announcement of no promotions increments for the year, rationalization of certain subsidies like those related to the canteen, transport, etc. We have done all of that, and I can tell you that that will save us somewhere between 150 and 200 crores this year. But what we have continued to clearly communicate to our people is two things. One, there are no plans to cut jobs, and we are not going to cut jobs at this stage. We are a large, profitable company, thanks to our employees, and we are not about to throw the baby out of the bathwater, however pissed off we might be with what the government is doing. Two, as far as salary cuts are concerned, as I had shared with you last time, that people have come forward voluntarily, including the unions, to offer a 10% wage cut at the bottom, graded to about 30% at the top.
Right.
We have to decide by the end of this month whether we would like to do that for April salaries due in May.
Right.
But my inclination and that of my senior team is not to do that. We are going to do everything we can, to keep the company going as well as it can in these times without cutting back on salaries of employees.
Mr. Bajaj, my final question. We have been seeing certain trends as well. The Prime Minister's office, two key bureaucrats have moved to the MSME Ministry, the Economic Affairs Department as well. Going forward, if you had to make two key recommendations to the government, what would that be, if you could probably sum it up in 30 seconds?
I would make only one recommendation, Parikshit, which I have said to you before, which is we cannot save ourselves out of this crisis. We have to sell ourselves out of this crisis. If the government cannot reduce GST, and now I'm talking about the auto industry, but there are other suggestions I have made with respect to insurance, with respect to the absurd safety norms that were brought in last year. I think if those things are corrected at the front end and there is some liquidity brought in the NBFCs, etc., I think the demand side will be fine. As with Europe, I think we will see more of a V or a tight U-shaped recovery than a slow recovery. Just allow the things to open up at the front end and we will take care of the supply chain at the back end.
All right. Mr. Bajaj, thank you very much for speaking to CNBC-TV18. Joining us right now is the head of marketing for Tata Motors, Mr. Vivek Shrivats. Vivek, thank you very much for speaking to CNBC-TV18. These are desperate times. Do you feel the online route for sales is going to work for Tata Motors? Several auto companies are trying this right now.
Yeah, I think thanks to COVID, the buying behavior, customer behavior is going to be significantly different in the coming days, thanks to the heightened awareness of social distancing. And it's imperative for us, not only auto players, but across industry to provide contactless buying experience. From Tata Motors, we have moved firmly in this direction. We've launched the Click to Drive platform, which enables customers to discover the products, have video brochures and take the entire sales process online. And we are seeing fairly good traction around it.
Tell us how the click to drive functions. Have you been able to minimize contact with the customer completely? Is it only the delivery part where there is some sort of contact with the customer?
Yeah, that's the objective. The car buying process actually takes up to 6 months, where there's a long period of discovery and where the customer anyway searches online. But post that, usually the trend has been that the customer visits a showroom. It is that part that we've tried to take online. So today we have a platform where the customer can raise his interest. We will give a call back to him from our side, take him through some video brochures. Very soon we'll also launch functionality where the customer can have a face-to-face interaction over a video call with our product experts, who will guide them to the right choice of their products. What we've also done is bought all our 750 retail points online, so the customer can actually choose which is the particular dealership which he would like to be serviced from, and a sales executive from that particular dealership will begin discussing with him online. So from then, the test drive, if the customer requires it, will obviously be offline. It will be a physical touch, and we're trying to get the entire finance process and the documentation process online as well. And obviously the delivery as well can be executed at the customer's place. So over the entire cycle, probably there is only one physical touch if the customer wants to do a test drive. However, even that, we are trying to move into the AR kind of a technology support where the test drive also could be experienced virtually.
Vivek, do you feel that online sales platforms are here to stay, and customer behavior, what we're seeing changing right now, do you think this will be the trend for at least the next 2 years, possibly?
For sure. In fact, doing most things by remote, online, would be the clear trend that we're seeing. The customer doesn't really break up different areas of his life into online and offline. So work from home obviously now is largely working for everybody online. So the online meeting places are doing a great job in breaking down the distances. And for a customer, a work from home online meeting place is no different from an online booking portal. So it's about how to physically break down distances and enhance digital experience to make it as similar as possible to what a physical experience is. So that's where the real trick lies. And the better we execute it, the better success we'll see. But one thing I'd like to add is I don't think it's a fad which will go away in 2 years. If anything, I think it will continuously keep progressing, and this would probably be the new norm, is what I anticipate. Yeah.
What about customers coming to dealerships? Is that process going to change? Are you putting in certain protocols to make sure that your staff at dealerships, your customers are safe as well?
For sure. So customers coming to dealerships right now, obviously, it's non-existent. But going forward, we have to ensure the customers have a confidence that their visit would be safe. And we are putting a lot of protocols. Extremely stringent standard operating process have been set, right down to the number of times different surfaces are disinfected. What is the chemical that we use for disinfecting different surfaces, from the desk to the test drive cars? What are the high touch points within a car when customers drive it? So a detailed package has been percolated down to our dealerships, which are being followed.
When it comes to online sales, because you feel that this will become the new normal going forward, how much or what are the kind of resources that Tata Motors is putting into the online platform?
Yeah, marketing budgets, I mean, it doesn't make sense to market right now in the traditional formats. Obviously, getting customers to discover and learn about our products online is the key going forward. Media online, it's a myth that it is not expensive. It is quite expensive there as well. While I wouldn't try to commit any kind of numbers, spend on digital has significantly gone up as a part of total marketing budgets over the last few years. And from this year, I anticipate it to go even higher. And a rough ballpark would be about 20 to 25% of total budget probably would be dedicated to online experience and online discovery for the customer.
What happens post-COVID-19? There is no demand right now. No dealerships are open in the country. How soon do you expect demand to pick up once this lockdown is lifted in different parts of the country? And what will be your strategy to push sales?
See, one of the clear indicators that are coming out of countries which have moved past, who managed to flatten and even hammer down the curve, is that there's a need for a personal bubble when they move out. And we see that many customers have kind of gravitated towards having their own personal transportation, which in this case is a car. So I think the same thing is going to play out in India as well. The demand for personal transportation will increase. And we estimate that the demand for entry level cars, affordable cars, would really go up. And that would be a kind of silver lining in the dark cloud of around the corona. So my estimate is about a quarter after things get back to normal, we'll see the markets really picking up.
Will resuming production in the month of May be a challenge? Tata Motors plants of other automobile makers have got a go-ahead from the government in certain places. But do you think production can happen if there is lockdown in different parts of the country?
No, I think as automakers were obliged to follow what is responsible, apart from what is mandated. And from Tata Motors, we've not yet given an official stance on this, but we'll take a responsible route towards society and our own employees and follow that route.